I actually was looking for jobs in the social services field. And so I moved back to Vegas and I found a job as a resilience ambassador / crisis counselor in Nevada. And so we worked with people in the pandemic who've been affected, whether that be financially, physically, mentally, and we provided tangible resources, whether it's rent assistance, food assistance, mental health assistance. We provided them emotional support, really kind of a triage stage, and really did a lot of outreach to make sure our community's needs were being met in whatever way we could help them.
We love the San Gabriel Valley. There are some amazing people and businesses here, and we think they deserve the spotlight. Welcome to the SGV Master Key Podcast. We'll have on the people that make the SGV great. We'll find out what makes them tick, their ups and downs, their history, and we're going to have fun doing it. This is the SGV Master Key Podcast. And now your hosts, Scott Warmoth and Russell Mano.
All right, SGVers, welcome back to another episode of the SGV Master Key Podcast. Thank you for tuning in. For you, hopefully it's been a week, and for us, it's been 2 months. And if you're watching this online, you're probably wondering, like, why am I in the chair? And this is our first episode really in over 120 or so that Scott's out sick. So thank you, Tori, for filling in here. Normally we begin the episode talking about something relevant to the guest. And today I just wanted for you to get to know a little bit about Tori and maybe us a little bit. We take breaks, like maybe sometimes 4 months or 2 months, right, from doing the show. And we pack in a lot of shows in a short amount of time, mostly because I'm traveling out of the country. And this most recently, I was gone for 2 months, but it's a little bit intense when we're recording, and then we get a break. So how was the break for you, Tori?
It was good. It's nice to kind of just focus on the editing and getting all the videos out and done without having to worry about, I have to go into the studio and be there and help record. And then I don't know, it kind of feels like less time to edit. So it was nice having that time. Sure.
And I know Scott definitely, like, he enjoys not having to drive out from Palm Springs multiple times a week or once a weekend and come out for the show. I'm always gone to be with my family. You know that. So it's a joy to be away for many reasons. And then now I'm back, and I think I'll be gone in another 4 or 5 weeks or so. So we'll have a little bit of congested time. Actually, you're going to be gone for 2 weeks, so I'll have some congested time, arranging guests and whatnot. But we'll have another break here soon. So before we get started, it's been a while, but I want to remind you that we've partnered with San Gabriel Valley Now, your source for city news, announcements, events, special savings, and everything SGV. Check them out on their Instagram, sgv.now, and read their new SGV Now magazine on their website, sgvnow.com. Well, you use Instagram and you watch reels and stuff. You're part of that generation that consumes a lot of that content, right?
Yeah.
So I think during the pandemic, I heard like so many people being at home and they sort of shifted or did something, that they could do from home. Some was like for passion, and so much of that content ended up, and a lot of people like really boomed from that. So I'm sharing that with you now because that's sort of the story of our guest today. She started doing stuff. I think she started doing stuff during the pandemic, and it sort of took off. And then now that's what she does full time. So let me introduce our guest. Her name is Asia Louis Chapa. She's a recipe developer and video creator. Asia, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah.
It's great to be here.
So there's a strange connection of how you ended up on our show. Do you want to share that story?
Yeah, actually, my mom is a longtime listener of your podcast.
Okay.
She's listened to every single episode.
No way.
She wanted me to say that.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks. Thank you so much. Lotus.
Yes, Lotus. And she just loves your message. She is born and raised in the SGV as well. So she really connected with your message and what you guys spoke about, and loves learning more about where she's from and where she grew up.
Wow.
So she reached out to you guys, and yeah, I'm here today.
Yeah, awesome. Wow, I didn't know that about her. I knew that she was a listener, but I didn't know that she listened to every episode.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Well, Asia, you you have a large social media following, right? And it's sort of developed around these drinks. But before we get into that, can you share what's your connection with to the San Gabriel Valley?
So I was raised here in the San Gabriel Valley. I was born at Kaiser Sunset, so not exactly the SGV, but I was raised in between Temple City and Alhambra.
Okay.
So
between Temple City and Alhambra.
yes, my mom and dad split up when I was younger.
Oh,
so
I see.
My dad lived in Alhambra, my mom in Temple City. So all around.
Okay. Well, if Kaiser Baldwin Park was around then, you probably would have been born there.
I was actually supposed to be born there.
Okay.
But something happened and my mom was closer in the vicinity of Kaiser Sunset. So
Okay. So you're a native SGVer.
yes.
What was life like growing up here?
It was awesome. I'm Mexican, Filipino, and Chinese. So a lot of people say in my family, I'm like the epitome of what the SGV is
Yeah.
and the people who live here. So it's cool to embody that and to represent those cultures. And it was great because I grew up around people who looked like me, had similar experiences, and also a few different people. And I got to learn new things, and it was just great. I know all the places here and the streets here. So living in Las Vegas now, it's always great to come back home and be in a familiar place that I know through and through.
Sure. Oh, growing up of mixed descent, I'm curious about that because I'm of mixed descent. Yes, the SGV definitely has like people who look like you, right? But were you aware that you were different, mixed? Like, did you have this moment where you're like, oh, I'm not quite Chinese or I'm not quite Filipino?
For sure. And I'm sure you've had those moments as well. It's the kind of the separation. Like my parents weren't together, so it was on my dad's side and then going to my mom's side. And I saw the stark differences. And my family is just so supportive. They never made me feel like I was different or anything like that. So it was very loving and supportive. But there were points where I was like, I'm not the typical what people think a Mexican girl or woman would be, or I'm not the typical Filipino or Chinese woman. And that was kind of hard to balance as a young kid. And I think that just the SGV is a great place to see our cultures or my cultures mixed and to see them flourish and to see other mixed people like myself and see just how we found our place in the world. And I think that was comforting for sure.
Yeah. Where would you say your traditions lie more, like culturally?
I've thought about that. And I tend to say more in the Filipino, Chinese, Americanized culture because I did spend more time with my mom growing up, just generally. Like I spent every other weekend with my dad. So I wasn't exposed to that side as much, but I still feel it in my heart and in my veins.
So your mom is Chinese Filipino?
Yes.
And your father is Mexican?
Yes.
I see. Okay.
Yeah.
So growing up in the SGV between Alhambra and Temple City, did you spend more time in one city over another?
Actually, I spent most of my time in El Sereno growing up because my grandparents on my mom's side, they would pick me up after school.
Okay.
And I would spend all my after school until like the late evening there. And so that was that was on the border of the Asian parts of town and the Mexican parts of town.
Yes, absolutely.
So I really spent most nights in Temple City sleeping, and then I would go to school in San Gabriel, and then my grandparents would pick me up and I'd go over to El Sereno for
Interesting.
most of my day.
And what school did you go to in San Gabriel?
I went to San Gabriel Christian School.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
That's an elementary school or high school?
Yes, that's K through 8.
K through 8.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And then where did you go to high school?
Alverno High School.
Alverno.
Sierra Madre. Yes.
Okay. So explain that.
So it was just a way. My family is not necessarily religious at all, but my mom wanted that education for me. I was an only child, so she's like, I'm gonna send you there for those values and to meet new people. And so that was a great opportunity, and I loved my experiences there. I got to see people who looked like me, and that was awesome. Mm-hmm. So I grew up around a lot of similar cultures, and I thought that was great.
And Alverno in Sierra Madre, it's a small private school.
Yes.
Is it all girls school?
It is all girls. All girls
okay.
Catholic school.
Oh, okay. Is LaSalle close to that?
LaSalle is within walking distance. You could walk there in
okay.
3 minutes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I used to referee, so I used to go to the different high schools, and I was like, oh, okay, I think I know where it is, but not really.
Mm-hmm. It's up in the foothills.
It is,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. Okay.
It's really beautiful there.
And how was your experience at Alverno?
It was great. I got to meet strong, powerful women who just knew what they wanted to do. And we were given tangible steps to pursue what we wanted. And we could do anything that we set our mind to. That's really the mindset that I learned at Alverno. And it was so powerful. That's kind of where I learned what I wanted to pursue in college. I met great friends there. I played volleyball for 4 years, and it was such an exhilarating time, especially as a teenager, as a young adult. It was such a positive environment there, for sure.
Did you have public school friends?
My cousins, but not really. It was kind of a isolated area. It was, we're friends here, and when in private school, we're kind of from all over. So when we see each other at school, we can't really go over to their house after or walk to their house.
Sure.
So it is a little bit more isolated, and it is more like, this is who I hang out with. And I've only been in private school, so
right.
Not really.
Yeah, I'm asking that question because I'm interested, like, if you're aware of the difference between your education and those in public school.
For sure. I mean, we talked about that a lot. Alverno High School was a college preparatory program, and so we did SAT prep and ACT prep and lots of college structured classes. And I realized that my cousins, it wasn't the same for them. And so I definitely saw the difference in maybe like preparing for school and maybe like the subjects that we were learning, especially the religious aspect too. That
Right.
wasn't something that is taught in public schools either. So
Sure. And then what was your experience like being at an all-girls school?
it was awesome. We wore uniforms, so we didn't have to worry about what we were going to wear. And I was so into sports that I didn't really care about anything else back then. But it was great. No one really cared about makeup. No one really cared about vanity. We just got to be ourselves, and we got to laugh and have fun and be weird when we wanted to. And no one ever admonished us for not looking a certain way or not acting a certain way.
Wow. That's really cool that you had that kind of experience.
I'm so grateful. It was such an amazing experience, and I take lessons that I learned from there today.
And are you still playing volleyball?
I do play volleyball recreationally.
Okay.
I meet my friends for sand volleyball a lot, and I try to go play in the gym. So
Okay.
still active.
So what happens in your life after Alverno?
After Alverno, I head to UNLV, the University of Nevada, Las Vegas, and I start my undergrad in psychology and criminal justice.
Why did you choose UNLV?
UNLV is, I used to go to Las Vegas a lot with my grandparents, my mom's parents growing up.
Are they Chinese?
Yes.
Okay.
They would take me up there after school on Friday, and we'd just go and we'd hang out. It was like a second home. They'd give my mom a break.
Okay.
And it was like my second home. All of
Really?
the lights and all of the buildings, and it's Las Vegas. It's kind of a goal, but it was no big deal to me. It was just every other weekend something
Really?
we do. Hmm.
Where would you stay?
My grandparents actually had a townhouse. They bought it back in the 80s, and so I have never stayed in a Las Vegas hotel before.
Oh, okay.
Ever
okay.
in my life. So we got to stay there, and it's right close to the Strip.
So were they going gambling when you were like sleeping, or like why travel back and forth?
My grandparents just always wanted to have a place there, and they wanted to have more property, I guess, and they were able to do that. And Vegas is 4 hours from here in Los Angeles, so they're like, let's go. My grandpa maybe bet on a couple sports.
So it wasn't really for the Vegas, like gambling, hotels, all that stuff. It was just to sort of get away and have a place.
Yeah,
I see. Okay. So did you grow to love Vegas?
absolutely. It was like my second home. I knew all the streets, and at first when I was little, I was like, are there schools here in Las Vegas? Because I didn't know. I thought it was just for party, vacation type of town. But I soon learned that there was a university there, and I got to know kind of the anatomy of the town. I was like, I would like to go here. I knew I wanted to go away for college, and I didn't want to go super far, but I didn't want to stay super close. I was going to go to Cal State LA maybe, and UNLV was the right fit for me.
Why did you know you wanted to go away?
To definitely get new experiences and to see what it was like to live in another city. And I kind of knew Las Vegas, and I knew it wouldn't be as intimidating, but I definitely wanted to have new experiences and not escape anything necessarily, but have a new life independently.
Okay. And you said you pursued psychology and something else. I forgot.
Yes, psychology and criminal justice.
Criminal justice. Okay.
Yeah.
And why did you choose those two?
I chose psychology because I actually found a journal maybe a year ago in my old bedroom at home here in Temple City. It was something I wrote maybe as a junior in high school, and it said something along the lines of, I love learning about why people do what they do and why they act how they act, and I love observing people. And I think that was ultimately what led me to choose psychology, because I just love talking to people, and I was a quiet kid, so I was always observing people and trying to even make sense of my different families. And so I think that awoke something in me and encouraged me to pursue psychology and the study of behavior.
I see. And then what about the criminal justice part?
Criminal justice. So my mom is a court reporter, and so I got to go to work with her a few times, and I got to see how the courtroom worked, and I don't know why they let a kid in there, but it was cool to see the procedure and, first of all, what she was doing, typing, and I got to see kind of like the law and order aspect, and I loved cop shows. I loved the show Castle. I don't know, and so learning about the criminal justice process and why rules exist and criminology is what I really wanted to study. So I minored in criminal justice because of that.
Okay. So does that mean your mom is in a criminal courtroom?
Yes, she was for most of my childhood, and she still is in juvenile courts.
Oh, in juvenile courts.
Mm-hmm.
I see. Okay. So was it a culture shock when you moved to UNLV? Did you enjoy it right away, or did you regret going there?
I enjoyed it pretty quickly, and I think that's because I had an awesome roommate, and she's my best friend still today.
Okay.
And she's still in Vegas. She's a lawyer. I loved it right away, and I think it was because I had great roommates and really great friends. I know not everyone gets that, but it was funny when I told people here at home that I was going to go to UNLV. They were like, oh, it's just a party school. You're just going to go to party. But it wasn't that for me, because it was there, and I knew those things happened in Vegas. But at the same time, it was just a second home to me. So I really got to enjoy the city as a local and show my friends what it was like to be a local too, like how the local scene is.
Okay. So you weren't all about the party scene when you were there?
Not really. It was always just kind of background noise to me. I knew it was happening, but I had no desire. I was more into sports still and just getting to know new people. And I was kind of nervous to be like a freshman and be in the dorms and meet new people. But it turned out to be really great.
I see. And so what happens after college?
After college, during college, I worked in a call center for the CDC. And so I left that job behind. I had been there for about 2 years and kind of worked my way up. So I left that and I went to get my master's degree in legal and forensic psychology at UC Irvine. Kept pursuing the psychology and criminal justice world for sure.
So now you're back at home, or you're living in Irvine?
I was back at home.
Back at home.
In Temple City.
Okay. And so did you get your master's in that?
Yes.
And did you end up using it for your career? You did?
I did use it briefly. I graduated in June of 2020.
Okay.
So I was one of the ones who didn't get like a graduation.
Oh no.
that
Okay.
year. But yeah, I finished that right in the middle of the pandemic, and that's kind of when AC Home Café and the home cafe trend entered my life.
Okay. So you graduated, you have ideas of entering or doing criminology using your psych degree, master's degree.
Yes.
And the pandemic hits. Mm-hmm. So what are you thinking then, that you're just going to sort of shift into a completely different space, or what are your thoughts then?
I actually was looking for jobs in the social services field, having to do with psychology, and maybe I was hoping to find something, an aspect of criminal justice to incorporate into my career in the future. And so I moved back to Vegas, and I found a job as a resilience ambassador / crisis counselor in Nevada. And so we worked with people in the pandemic who've been affected, whether that be financially, physically, mentally, and we provided tangible resources, whether it's rent assistance, food assistance, mental health assistance. We provided them emotional support, really kind of a triage stage, and really did a lot of outreach to make sure our community's needs were being met in whatever way we could help them. So that was really a way to connect with the Las Vegas community once again after moving away and taking the pulse of what's going on and what our county needs and what our whole state needs, really. So it was great. I felt like I was using my degree, and I got to use my skills that I learned for like clinical interviewing and even like suicide evaluations. And it was a great opportunity, and I love talking to people. So it was perfect.
And the people were calling in to you, or how are they finding you?
We had a couple different modes of outreach. A lot of people emailed on our website. We would put ads out on YouTube or just on TV. And then we'd have different organizations that we'd work with, like Help of Southern Nevada. I was deployed at the Las Vegas Resilience Center, which helped aid survivors of the October 1st shooting at Mandalay Bay.
Oh.
So I reached out to those people on a daily basis. We'd have our call sheets, and I'd let them know that we're here and that we even exist, and that if they needed someone, they'd have someone to talk to. And so we had quite a few employees, maybe like 30, and half of us would go to food drives and hand out flyers. So it was such a great program in general, and it's still going on. It was really great.
Gosh, as terrible as that event was, I forget like how recent it was, how awful it was, and how many more really terrible events there have been since. I mean, that was just incredibly unbelievable when I heard about that.
Absolutely. It was so close, because really the city of Las Vegas, it seems big maybe from a local standpoint, but everything is so close. You can get somewhere in 20 minutes, and to see all the mayhem happening right down the street, it was crazy. And I had never experienced something like that before. So it was a first for many of my family members and my friends.
Yeah. And I think, Tori, you had a family member who passed during that event, right?
Yeah. One of my cousin's wife was at the event. And
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So sorry.
Wow. Yeah, I actually completely forgot about the event. And I wondered how a place like Las Vegas would recover from that. That they are so, they rely a lot on tourism, right? Like coming there and events and large events. And yeah, wow.
Yeah, we really come together as a city. We have their survivor groups and meditation groups for survivors of that event. And they can be from any state. They have Zoom yoga, Zoom meditation. And so they really are working on creating a space for anyone who was there from any state to have a place to come. Like if they ever want to go to Vegas again, they have memorial gardens and services and a whole center, like actual building that survivors can go, families of survivors. And it was a test of Las Vegas's resiliency, not only the people, but first responders too. We made a comeback.
Wow.
And we're stronger.
I hear that you use the word "we" when referring to the city or Las Vegas. So you consider yourself like a transplant there now? It is your city?
For sure.
Okay,
Through
awesome.
and through.
And I want to get into your transition to sort of what you're doing now with AC Home Cafe. But we ask each guest to bring an item of significance with them. What did you bring with you today?
So today I brought a teacup, and it's a cup and saucer, and it has a little rose on there. And this is actually one of the teacups that my grandma and I used to use when we would have our tea parties after school.
Oh.
My grandma was such a special person to me. She inspired such creativity in me. She'd pick me up from school, and we'd come home, and we'd have intricate little, our constant comment tea with a little cookie, and I would read a chapter of a book to her. And it was such a special time. That makes me think of my home, LA, and it makes me think of course, the San Gabriel Valley too, and the connection that drinks offer people, anyone.
Wow. Thank you for sharing that. What a memory.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good memory.
Do you hope to recreate that if you choose to have a family later on?
For sure. Maybe not in a decorative, intricate Victorian tea party, but just the connection of even making a drink or creating something with and sharing that with other people.
Wow. Is that the genesis, the reason that you've created what you have created?
Yes, really, it is. It started with that. It started with sharing a drink, a simple thing with my grandma. And my grandma's an inspiration for so much of what I do. She would let me make little potions in the kitchen with random ingredients in the fridge, and I would serve it to my mom when she would pick me up from school or pick me up from my grandparents' house, and she'd drink it, and my poor mom having to drink my random creations back then. But yeah, my grandma's what really started that spark of creativity, namely drinks, because that is what we shared together.
Wow, that's really cool.
Yeah.
Wow, well, that's a perfect transition into the story of what it is that you're doing now. So how did you start AC Home Cafe?
Well, AC Home Cafe, the home cafe trend to me started in March 2020, right at the start of the pandemic. And I had been laid off from my part-time receptionist job at an interior design firm while I was going through school. And I would just scroll for hours on Instagram, and these home cafe videos came up. They originated in South Korea, Japan, China, and a lot of other Asian countries. They were mesmerizing to me. They were fun, tiny ices, big circular ones, different color milks, and pouring the milk into the dark espresso and seeing it trickle down. And it just made me feel so peaceful inside. I know it's such a mundane thing, but it really made me feel better during that stressful, uncertain time. And I was like, you know what? Maybe I could try to make a video. I'm bored. We're stuck in the house for 2 weeks. I filmed my first video, and I was just posting them on my personal Instagram stories, my personal account. And my poor friends, they're putting up with me with these random videos of no phone stand, shaky hand. My best friend, who I met at UNLV, she said, oh, you should start posting them on TikTok just for fun. I'm like, I don't even have TikTok. Okay. And so I started posting on there, and then I started making more intricate drinks and having a phone stand and having an idea of what I wanted to do. Because before it was just anything that was in my kitchen. And then one time there was one video with pink ice, and it was in the sunlight, and I kept spilling ice and it wouldn't even get into the cup. And that's kind of how I got a big following, because I was messing up.
I saw that in one of your videos. I was like, that looks so cool because it's so real.
Yes, exactly. So people were relating to it, and people were roasting me for it. So it was kind of both. I'm like, hey, I guess that's true. And I'm like, yeah, why do I spill that much? It's annoying. And I was using like rice cooker paddle to pour the ice, not even anything like that you're supposed to use. So it was very makeshift back then. Yeah.
Wow. Before we go on to that, there's a quality about you that you have to be able to put yourself out there and risk being judged and criticized. That I've encountered people of a younger generation paralyzed. They can't even put a single thing out there because they're so afraid that it has to be perfect. Mm-hmm. And are you aware of people of a similar generation that you're different in that sense?
For sure. And I think it was very apparent when posting things that were contrary to that mindset and that kind of thought process of, oh, no, it needs to be perfect. Edit out all the bad stuff. Edit out a bang that I accidentally made on the table when putting a cup down. And I think it stemmed from, I don't know how to edit it out at the beginning, but then I'm like, no, it's okay. That's what real life is. It's a home cafe. It's not a barista. It's not a coffee shop where you have to be perfect. So I was like, it did take a moment of, no, you know what? It's okay. And I'm going to show it to the world, or show it to my 12 followers at the time, and comfortable with not being perfect. And I think there is beauty in imperfection. And that's kind of the message that I slide in there in my videos, because it's true. Life is imperfect and life is still beautiful. And I think drinks have helped me get that message across for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Wow, what a powerful message that is. Yeah. Are you aware of the home cafe trend? I didn't know about this. Did you see this?
No, not really. I mean, I knew. Well, now I see it. Like, I don't know. It seems like it's bigger now. It's more like general instead of I was at the time I wasn't aware.
But you said it was mostly in Asian countries, huh?
It was. I mean, not that I'm going to take credit for bringing it to the U.S., but I didn't see any U.S. creators, American creators, or even North American. Like in Canada, I know it's big now too. But I didn't see anyone doing it with like, I don't know what typical American ingredients are, but I didn't see it in this space. I only saw it in like maybe just the Asian side of TikTok, things that weren't to America so widely yet. And I was like, I want to try to make a video too. It would be cool, like if we all had a cafe culture here, a home cafe culture here.
Wow.
Yeah.
So I love it. I love the connection to your grandma. I love, the message that you're sharing through your videos, the beauty of imperfection. So how did it sort of grow and when did you start to take it like more seriously? Like this is something that I want to do.
Yeah. So I started posting when people were seeing that video where I was messing up. I started directing them to my Instagram. And one of my friends from UNLV again, she said, oh, you should put ingredients. You should put a recipe. And that was the first time that I was like, oh, people want to make what I'm filming? Okay. And it wasn't connecting for me because I didn't even have recipes at that point. I was just doing random stuff. And I was like, oh, I got to think more about this. And so I had lists all of a sudden and I was writing it down and measurements and I started posting recipes and that got more of an interest. It piqued people's interest a lot more. And then people were asking questions. Oh, how did you do this? How did you do that? And I'm like, oh, you want to know that? Okay. And so I would comment back. That's when I was having to really think and be like, okay, this can be something. Let's make it something. And so that's when I started honing my recipe development. I was thinking about flavors that might actually go well together and even imitating recipes that I would see at Starbucks or recipes I would see at Dunkin' Donuts and making that more accessible to at-home cafe lovers. And because we were more at home, we were experimenting. Like I know the Dalgona whipped coffee was really big for a minute.
That's what I saw. Yeah. Okay.
Yes. So people were already dipping their toe into the home cafe thing. So I squeezed right in there and kind of took it off or tried more things, not only tea and coffee, but cocktails and mocktails. And I think that's what kind of spoke to a lot of people. I got messages from teenagers saying, I'm going to make this. I'm so glad it doesn't have alcohol. And I was like, oh, awesome. I'm glad they could make it. Oh, I'm going to make this for my mom. I'm going to make this for my grandma. And so that was just huge to me. It made me so happy. And it made me want to do it consistently. And I've been doing it for 3 years ever since.
Wow.
Yeah.
Was there one video or one recipe that sort of like went viral or took off in the beginning?
There was. It was a crystal ball spritzer. It was back then. I do more normal recipes now, quote unquote, but it was in I used to get like a fish bowl from Michael's, and okay. I would fill it with like circular ice and butterfly pea tea, which is color changing from blue to purple when mixed with lemon. And so that one jumped off. I think got 200,000 likes on Instagram, which is crazy back then. People were having that same experience that I did. Like, oh, it's so soothing. I love the sizzle of the sparkling water. So to get to share that with people, the experience I had at the beginning of the pandemic was surreal. And I was like, I love making these little drinks in my room. So, wow. Yeah, it became a passion for sure.
Clearly you have a passion for making these drinks, and that must have been so fun. And I love how you're enjoying what it's doing for your audience, like their creativity or willingness to try or give it to their grandma or their mom or whatever. I want to go more into what your business, is it a business now?
Yes.
Okay, what your business looks like, but let's take a quick break and we'll be right back.
Okay.
At Warmouth Law, they believe that just because you speak a foreign language, come from a different culture, or simply don't know how to navigate the legal system, that should not prevent you from compensation from injury or receiving benefits. Their multicultural staff have been helping SGVers like you for over 38 years. Visit law888.com lavender.com or call them at 626-784-7017 and tell them you heard about them on this podcast.
All right, we're back with Asia. Asia, before the break, you were sharing about how you were getting messages and seeing how people were reacting to your videos. I forget what you said about the reaction with the lemon. What was it that you were pouring it into?
It was the butterfly pea flower tea.
I see. Is it blue?
It brews blue, and then once it's combined with any type of acid, most popularly lemon, it turns like this royal purple color.
Ah, okay.
So beautiful.
I during the break, I was trying to find this video. My wife turned me on to lavender lemonade. Mm-hmm. And so we brew it with lemon juice.
I love that. I'm like eating up every word that you're saying right now.
And it turns a vibrant pink.
Oh.
Yeah, and she says it is the original pink lemonade. And now, you just see a bunch of, you see like coloring for pink lemonade and it's actually not lavender. Or if you see lavender, it's with food coloring purple.
You're right. I didn't know that though. That's interesting because a lot of these herbs, when they're combined with acid, they turn like a vibrant color. Like I was doing an experiment with rose petals and the same, like when I combined it with acid and lemon, it turned bright pink. So I'm going to try that.
Lavender lemonade?
Yes.
Can you give us a shout out?
Yes, I will.
My wife actually, yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah, she showed me that. And I'm trying to find a video. I brought it over to Kyoto-san at Kyosuzu Sushi on Baldwin in Arcadia. And the video is of him like pouring the lemon juice into the lavender tea. And he's like, wow.
That place is so good.
Oh, you know that place?
Yes.
Okay. On Baldwin, Kyosuzu, it's just him and maybe one other chef, very small,
Yes.
right? So, okay, well, I'll look for this. But so, you're sensing that this can become something bigger. And when obviously you did, but when did you start taking it more seriously or saying like, oh, I can really make this something? And then what did you do?
I first started realizing it when just the follower count got up to 80,000 all of a sudden, and now we're at 110. And so I never even thought that I would get past 100 followers on TikTok. So that was really, and my family was like, this is kind of a thing, Asia. And I'm like, I guess it is.
And how short of a time did you get to 80?
I think I got there in about 8 months.
Wow. Mm-hmm. Okay. That's
lavender?
It is, yeah.
Oh, whoa.
It's pretty vibrant,
That's
right?
Awesome.
Yeah.
I would like the ratios on that.
Okay. Okay. I'm sorry. Go ahead. So 80,000 in 8 months. Mm-hmm. Okay.
And it got pretty big. And by the first year, it was like close to, or the 2-year mark, it was close to 100,000.
Oh, but in 2 years. So the last like 20,000 was slower.
It was slower. Yeah.
Okay.
Because that's when a lot of other home cafe content creators and just beverage creators in general, cocktails too, really entered the Instagram space. Because I think YouTube was really big on beverage and filming the process of making foods. But I think it started to get bigger on Instagram and TikTok for sure. But yeah, it was slower, definitely.
And how did that affect your ability to like read your comments and respond and filter out all the noise? Because I have an account that has, some following and once it reached a certain point, I just couldn't do it.
Yeah, it gets stressful. And luckily on Instagram, there are tools like automatic replies if you want to go that route. I personally haven't done that, but it does I'm the type of person who likes to interact. And a lot of the comments that I get are about the recipe or, oh, it didn't froth all the way. So things that they need to know if they want to make the drink. So it is like, that's when it started to become more full-time and more involved. And partly when I started to realize, oh, this can be something. This is something people care about and is something that is a part of these people's daily lives, making their coffee in the morning or their tea. Along with that, getting interest from bigger brands like Guinness, Captain Morgan, Pete's Coffee, Lara Bar.
Are they reaching out to you?
Yeah.
Wow, awesome.
It was surprising. I thought it was a scam at first because I just couldn't believe it. And then building the confidence to be like, yeah, I can collaborate with these people. I can offer something, a creation, not that is worthy of that, but that could be something interesting that my followers might appreciate.
Wow. There must be a lot of people right now who want to become famous on Instagram or have a following or create content that's going to turn into a business for them. Mm-hmm. What advice would you have for those people who are seeking to create something like you are?
I think the first aspect to focus on is what you want to put out there, because when you are confident in a piece of content or the piece of material that you want to share with the world, people will see that. People will see that you're not trying too hard to fit some sort of aesthetic, and that if you have a genuine message and a genuine passion for what you're doing, it will show. The way you talk about your ingredients or the way that you talk about what you love to do will shine through. And I've seen that in a lot of my home cafe friends that I've made over the past 3 years. Like, we just love drinks. We just really love creating things and having fun. And that is what I think brands see and what our other followers see.
Yeah, that's great advice. What are some of the things that people may not see, the negative part about, growing and becoming famous, if you will? What are some of those things that you've encountered?
I think people may try to take advantage, maybe try to have you market a product for free. And of course you can do that, but maybe I guess first you have to know your worth and know if you're going to be putting your content out for people to see and make a living off of it, that you know what your content means and what it's worth. Because when you don't know that, which is a learning lesson in itself, you can sell yourself short, and maybe you can turn this passion into a career. And if you maybe had just a better understanding of what fees were or what your content, like the actual impact it can make, then you'll have a better idea or a better chance of really making it a fruitful career and like having your passion become a reality for you every day. And so I think that's just something to be mindful of. I'm still learning too every day.
You must have a lot of accounts reaching out to you like constantly to do something, to do whatever, right? Like, how do you filter through that noise?
It's a lot of email searching and researching companies too and seeing what they're about, because of course you'd love to be in a space to be able to pick and choose. But if you are doing it as a career, sometimes if it's a great opportunity financially, like a tea brand maybe that you've never tried before, you'll use it. And the thing is, you get to be choosy about what brands that you want to represent and if they align with your values and your mission. So that's kind of like the best spot to be in terms of like brand collaborations and putting out a product and collaborating with a company that you feel passionately about as well.
Are people like posting your content or stealing your content and reposting it without your permission?
I have seen that before, but mostly they will give credit in some form or another. Again, a lot of my followers do say like, oh, they're using your videos. And I really appreciate that, because it is hard work and it is like a creation. But I have no problem if people want to like shout me out or just share the drink love, because beyond what I do, beyond making coffees and collaborations, of course it is my career, but if it speaks to people in whatever way, I'm happy about that. Whether it's an affordable instant coffee recipe or something that you can do for a birthday or a baby shower, that's really beautiful to me, and that's what matters the most.
Mm-hmm. What ideas do you have in store, for your company, your Instagram going forward?
I've definitely started an instant coffee series, and I think that's what I want to continue pursuing, because instant coffee, it gets a bad rap, but it's affordable, it's accessible, and it can be made anywhere, like when you're camping or when you're on the go in a hotel or something like that. And I'd love to write another book.
Oh, you've written a book.
Yes.
I remember you mentioning that. What's the book's title?
It's The Home Cafe: Creative Recipes for Espresso, Matcha Tea, and Coffee Drinks.
Wow, okay.
Yeah. So it's like my passion project. It's something that I always wanted to do, but never thought I could.
And where is that available?
Amazon, Barnes & Noble, anywhere in the world. And I have Amazon internationally, Target, Walmart, Anthropologie.
Wow.
Yeah.
And were you approached to do a book, or did you have the idea and then approach a publisher?
I was approached by my now editor,
Okay.
And she was like, hey, ever thought about writing a book? And I thought it was a scam because I looked at the email and I was in the airport and I was like, oh, okay, I'll look at it later. And then I read it and then I was like, yeah, I have. Because I have a document open on my computer from years ago that was like ASC Home Cafe and just like maybe my dream of what I wanted to write about the home cafe tools and ingredients. And yeah, they made it become a reality.
Awesome. Congratulations.
Thank you.
And what's the idea for the second book?
Coffee around the world.
Coffee around the world.
That would take some traveling though.
Okay.
I got to travel.
Well, that's
first.
fun.
Yeah.
I recently, like maybe in the last couple of years, learned that the best coffee comes from countries located around the equator.
Yes. Like Costa Rica. Costa Rican coffee is so good. I got to go there once and it was, oh my gosh.
I actually think coffee, if you're at the source, is always going to be way better, right? Like it doesn't actually leave. The best stuff doesn't leave.
Yeah.
I like Indonesian, like Papua New Guinea, Brazil. I forget some other ones, but yeah, I love coffee. Well, we're going to learn a little bit more, Asia, about the things that you love, particularly here in the San Gabriel Valley. So, wow, this is the first time that I'm doing the SGV3. So, Asia, this is the segment of the show we call the SGV3, and we ask you to share with our audience your favorite or most memorable 3 places in the San Gabriel Valley. So, what's number 1?
So my first SGV place that I love is Fosselman's ice cream.
Okay.
I don't know if you've ever been there before. So good.
Is that on Valley in Alhambra?
It's on Main.
Oh, that's
Main
right,
Street
Maine. That's right, Maine.
in
Yeah.
Alhambra. It's right by the car dealerships.
Yes.
And I've been eating there since before I was born because my mom used to go there with my dad when she was pregnant with me and they'd have Sundays and it's just, they make it all there in that one, in their property. And it's so delicious. So many flavors. There's seasonal flavors. In Las Vegas, we don't get like necessarily homemade ice cream like in-house. So whenever I come home, I love to go to Fosselman's and I like to get something different every time because it's just so good.
Yeah. Did you go there with your grandma?
I never went there with my grandma, but I did go there with my dad. And so he also brings up such good drink memories for me as well. And that's actually a good segue because my next SGV place is the Starbucks on Main and First in Alhambra.
The Starbucks on Main and First in Alhambra. Okay.
Yep.
Okay. Why that particular place?
Because that is my dad's Starbucks. And I miss my dad so much. He passed away in January 22.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Thank you. But it just has such good memories there. Like that's where my mom would drop me off when I'd have weekends with him. And everyone in that Starbucks knew him. Every new worker who worked there, they had to learn Eric's order, which was an iced tea with 4 equal shaken, no water. And the manager had everyone learn it. And it was such a supportive place. Everyone's like, hey, Asia. And I'm like, I don't even know you. And that just spoke to how friendly my dad was and like what a persona he radiated in that little area of the SGV. And so every time I pass there, I'm like, Dad, I miss you. And it's just so beautiful.
Wow.
And I love it there.
Yeah. Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love how your places are connected to these really touching memories and feelings. Yeah. And what's your third one?
My third one is the Monrovia Fair. It happens every Friday. I think it starts at 5 or 6. And it's like a carnival. They used to be just in the summer when I was growing up, but now they're every single Friday of the year.
Oh, okay. It's like their farmer's market, but there's music and there's food and entertainment sometimes. Is that what on Myrtle?
Yes, on Myrtle.
Okay.
It has produce at the beginning, and then it has food and like food booths, and then the food all along the street. And then they used to have like a petting zoo. I'm not sure if they have it anymore. And then boutique shops and jewelry and temporary tattoos and sand art. And it was just so fun to go there as a kid. And then even now to share that with my family members, my little cousins. So it's really fun too. And in a beautiful place with the mountains right there.
Yes. Yeah.
Awesome.
It is pretty special because like on a Friday night, if you wanted to go somewhere with the family, have some entertainment, have some food, some dessert, walk around. Yeah, it's really great. It's really a treasure there for sure.
It is. Yeah, just such great memories.
Yeah. Well, Asia, I really appreciate you coming on the show and sharing about your connection to the SGV and all the great memories that you've shared with us and our audience. So your Instagram is AC_home cafe, is that correct?
Yes.
And if people wanted to get in touch with you, what's the best way to do that?
You could fill out a contact page on my website or just DM me. I check my message requests all the time, and I love talking to followers and not even followers, just anyone about Home Cafe, what you're drinking right now. I have a lot of conversations like that in DMs, and I made so many friends in the past 3 years just from the account.
Wow. Awesome. Well, congratulations on that. I wish you the best success with your account.
Thank you.
And also with your book coming up in the future. Happy travels around the world experiencing coffee in that way.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Cheers.
Thank you so much for coming. Well, there you go. There's another episode for you. Thank you for tuning in. We appreciate you spending this time with us. Don't forget, you can send us an email, info@sgvmasterkey.com, and you can check out our full back catalog on our website, sgvmasterkey.com. And until next week, we'll see you then.
You've been listening to the SGV Master Key Podcast. Our passion is the small businesses and the people that make up the San Gabriel Valley, and it's our honor to have them on the show. We hope you've enjoyed it. Make sure to like, rate, and review. The show is produced by Russell Mano, edited by Victoria Allers of Kind Monster Productions. Thanks for listening, and see you next time on the SGV Master Key Podcast.
Master, no, kind of master.